Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the new Mythic of Kurandara. So this technically had 3 release dates. Normally Mythics come out, of course, the first Friday of every single month. However, this one's a bit different as far as Mythics are concerned. This one ended up coming out basically 3 different days. It came out last Monday if you had the $25 pass. It came out yesterday on Monday if you had the $10 pass, and it comes out in about 4 weeks or so after the campaign if you are playing free-to-play, and it will be available in Glory, Gym Guild, and VIP Chest Drop Table. Do be mindful that I don't believe he's ever going to be the exclusive Mythic in the Drop Table, so realistically, the main way that you're going to obtain him is with 4,000 diamonds after the fact, if you still need a copy. As far as this Mythic is concerned, it reminds me very much like 2 different troops. It reminds me a little bit of Obsidious in the sense that it's used primarily for its final trait as a disable. It has a 50% chance to curse all enemies when matching 4 or more gems. And the other troop that it is very similar to is Mirage Queen. Not only is Mirage Queen a very good cursing troop, still even in situations probably even better than Kurandara, oddly enough. However, it also has a convert to Doomskulls. Of course, the other one has a green to Doomskull convert. However, this has a yellow to Doomskull convert. It also gets to conjure a Doomstorm, which is one of only a few options in the game that have that capability, and it also gets to damage a single enemy boosted by Doomskulls at 10 times boost ratio. So if there's something like 5 Doomskulls on the board, it will do 50 additional damage. However, one thing to keep in mind, like many other troops in the game, this boost ratio does take effect after the fact, so it will not consider the yellows that it ends up transforming as part of its boost ratio. So if you have like 5 on the board and you get like 10 from the convert, which will have you like 15 total, it'll only count the first 5, it will not count the total 15 since it checks it prior to the Doomskull creation. Obviously, if there's still a bunch of Doomskulls on the board and you land an extra turn and then you go and use this ability, then it will. However, it will not count the yellows that you initially convert into the boost ratio. And it also has Impervious trait, which is pretty nice, and it is also the first Mythic, oddly enough, to have a single link. Queen Aurora technically has 6 links, but as far as the single links are concerned, no other Mythic really got it, which is kind of weird, but they finally ended up adding it to that thing. One thing to mention real quick, even though it technically isn't Kurandara, though kind of is, Enraged Kurandara was also added yesterday, and that one you wouldn't have even been able to get prior. That one was truly ended up being added yesterday. It is the second boss troop in the game. It does consume your Heart of Rage when you craft it, so do be mindful of that. However, overall, probably not worth going for. It is the same amount of power orbs as Azugaf, and not really anything too special. It does get a nice big full AoE, but with its really high mana costs, that's going to be a bit of a liability. Biggest thing it has going for it is it's the only viable troop that has Invulnerable trait. Obviously, the 6 Dooms have this as well as far as player-owned troops are concerned. Hopefully, it'll eventually give this to Zugaf. Be making a lot of sense if every boss troop had Invulnerable as far as player-owned things are concerned, since they could be one-shotted by raid troops. So at least give them something to give them a little bit better durability, because he still is Impervious rather than the Indestructible. Who knows, maybe he'll eventually get updated with it. Zugaf's already pretty decent, though. But he even has a worse final trait, oddly enough, 40% chance to curse all enemies when it's its turn. Overall, I would say hold out on this for the most part. We don't know if they're going to be adding another one of these in like 11 weeks or in, who knows, maybe a couple seasons from now, if they don't do it necessarily every single season. So do be mindful that we are very likely to be getting additional Doom troops into the future, and if all of them are going to cost 8 power orbs, or at least most of them, then yes, that's going to be a bit hard to actually get that many power orbs. So as far as this Kurandara, you're perfectly fine just with the normal one. The only main difference is that it does full AoE damage with its thing, and you normally don't even really get to utilize this too much. Obviously, if you had a lot of Doomskulls on the board, it would be beneficial. However, it is very rare for that to happen, since they tend to chain together whenever you trigger one of them, if you have a bunch of them on the board. And it's probably the hardest gem type to actually keep a lot of on the board. So overall, probably not worth it, though as it currently stands is technically the best invulnerable troop in the game. So if that is good enough for you, it is maybe okay to get. However, I would probably pass for now until we see future boss troops that could potentially go there instead, as at this rate, it is very likely they will eventually add a boss troop to every single kingdom. But anyways, let's go and actually use this troop. I don't think I'm set to rate medals. Generally, we're going to want to be on 20% into 2 seasons when using this thing, or 20% into 2 cleanses. Really depends on what you're up against. But we'll go with 2 seasons for now. So, might as well start from the bottom. Why not? So, we'll start with this team. You can use pretty much any weapon here. I actually went for a drill shooter, which is a bit of a weird weapon. However, it creates yellow, it creates red, both of which we need, and also has a 20% chance to instantly kill, which is one of only few weapons, and by far the most viable weapon that has that mechanic. So has that going for it. Other than that, we're using Thrall for mana accumulation, Mistralus for the enchant, and a little bit of damage distribution, and Kurandara for obviously Kurandara. These are Kurandara teams after all. So we'll go into this. But overall, my impressions of it is it's slightly above average. Reminds me a lot of Obsidious in that regard, in that you're using him mostly for his curse utility. As you can see right there, we got a 4x curse. This makes it so you don't have to deal with any of their stats effects. Obviously, on the current team that we're using right now, we don't utilize that, though I do have at least one team built that will be using that mechanic. So obviously, whenever we have yellow alignment, we're going to want to make sure we go for our hit. We'll generally want to target our hit onto whatever is the biggest threat on the opposing team, and then kind of just go from there. So obviously we'll throw it on his hero for now, so it doesn't end up doing as much. Anytime that we have yellow to Doomskull alignment, we will cast. However, if we don't have yellow to Doomskull alignment, we could shuffle the board with Mistralis and ideally get it. So right here we have it again, so we'll go for the poke. So we don't need to do Mistralis yet. However, you can see he's very low, so we can actually clean him up with a Mistralis right now. And just do that, and generally it'll end up cleaning up whatever's still all the way at the bottom there. We don't have Skulls right now, so we're actually getting a lot less value. However, as you guys know, Doomskulls still do absurd amount of damage, even in those situations. So unfortunately, one red short of a automatic extra turn. I thought we actually had enough for that, but I clicked it too quickly. Apparently not, and now we're too short. I might still go for the Thrall this time, though, just for the mana accumulation, get everything up. Haven't needed to cast the weapon. Generally, I don't feel like the weapon actually gets used too much because the loop of the team kind of does it. But still good to have the hero there. If nothing else, it's tanking out. Since that's in a killable range, we will go for it. And, of course, you can click on him at any time to see his boost ratio. And right now, gosh, that is high. We can end up doing 168 damage off of that. Generally, it's relatively low, though, his overall damage that he's going to be doing. And more often than not, it's actually not worth casting, unless you have the alignment, of course. Is the main thing that you normally want to look out for when utilizing his ability, like right there, and that should be a match. Okay, never mind. The Entangle really getting in the way of this battle. We'll throw it in again, and there we go. And of course, as you saw, we didn't use the weapon a single time, so weapon not really too relevant for the most part. I tried doing it with Emerald Tear as well at one point. I feel like Emerald Tear blocks mana a little bit too much. Obviously, Emerald Tear with Mistralis can be pretty decent. Oh gosh, the Zug off with a bunch of Daemon Gnomes. That's technically not a real team. Okay, we'll go against the super annoying web spinner team, I guess. So, next up, which kind of works because we actually have a frontline tank here. So, we're running an Obsidious Kurandara build. So, this is a rather interesting combination that we can get a curse stun. Technically, you might want to use your Obsidious behind your Kurandara. The main reason I say that, even though it's the other way around right now, is when you curse stun simultaneously, if they have immune to stun, what's going to happen is because it goes in top left to bottom right priority, the Obsidious will stun, then the thing will curse. However, if your Kurandara is in front of your Obsidious, you will first curse it and then stun it. This isn't too relevant, but as you saw right there, actually there's not a relevant spot because none of them had immune to stun. But if any of them had immune to stun, they would actually have not gotten to stun and only to curse. However, you can fix that by putting your Obsidious behind. However, for this particular battle, it didn't matter. So now we don't have to deal with his triple damage. We don't need to worry about any of their anything as far as traits are concerned. And even if they had immune to stun, as long as they didn't have invulnerable, which is only 7 player-owned troops in the game, only one of which is likely to be used, Enraged Kurandara, they would all be curse stunned. Doesn't matter if they have impervious, they would still be curse stunned. So we don't have to deal with that triple damage on Skull, and that's like the only thing. Oh, and we don't have to deal with anything on Orb Weaver. Nice. Yeah, Orb Weaver was also there. So, okay. What do we go for here? I guess we could just go for a poke, though. Once again, we are entangled. So, you know what? I think we have an extra turn right there. I normally... Oh, never mind. I did that too low. No, never mind. It's still an extra turn. Oh, well. Let's just roll with it. It works. Okay. Let's see. We'll throw this down. We'll put it on the first slot. Normally, you'd want an attack buff there, but he's kind of entangled right now. But if nothing else, we can get a little bit of damage. But actually, probably would have been a little bit more viable to just put it in the back then. Because of that, we don't really have good alignment. That's one issue that this Mythic and similar things can happen a lot, where you kind of want to cast it for its like secondary ability, which is just that little bit of damage. However, if you constantly don't have alignment, that can be not as viable to do. So we're going to go on first slot here, something you normally wouldn't do, but because we're entangled, we kind of need to pressure the damage. Obviously, Web Spinner being one of his bigger threats on his team, as web spinners tend to be, though given that we have Curse Stun, that's probably not as much the case for once this time around. So we'll go for a big burst damage right over here just to get all those skulls. Unfortunately, the secondary damage does not end up hitting. However, it is still stunned, 1, so we don't necessarily need to worry about it too much. We can see what its boost ratio is and see that has 81 damage, so that will be enough to kill out the web spinner. We are finally unentangled, so we can actually do damage, which is nice. We could also use this for its main thing, which is to go and buff that up and get all of our mana, ideally land an extra turn, and then just kind of go crazy from there. It also has a small chance of creating yellow because it does use yellow itself, which obviously having more yellow on the board is generally a pretty good idea when using a Kurandara, as that is the main thing that it converts to create all of its skulls, which is obviously pretty good to have. I'll take that over, go for one more, and hopefully land it for the win. So we'll get all of our mana there, and I don't believe we have a single skull alignment, which is very unfortunate, so we'll probably just have to do that to kill it out, and the adjacent damage will end up getting it killed off the heavy splash. And there we go. But yeah, it's very similar to Obsidious in that regard. It's basically used for its utility purpose. Obviously, it's 50% chance that I'll end up doing it rather than 100% chance. But when it gets it, it's still pretty impactful. And other than that, Wild Queen team. So you can end up doing it with a Wild Queen variant. Obviously, having Wild Queen plus Kurandara. Also, one thing I'd even mention. This is pure purple, by the way, the team that we were just using. I'm not sure if you'd necessarily want to use it for Purple Guild War Day. However, it is indeed pure purple, which was also one of the gimmicks with that team. Anyways, next up we're going to be running a Wild Queen version of it. Wild Queen obviously being one of the better, if not the best, skull spammer currently in the game. I'm not sure if you'd say absolute best, but as far as Guild War is concerned, it probably is absolute best. It's definitely pretty high up there as far as skull spam is concerned. Also, we still got the extra turn because we hit on the yellow. Doesn't matter if you get frozen on a color. As long as you get not frozen on one single extra turn, it still counts for your extra turn there. We do have Apothecary here, which obviously the main thing for that is to counter out exactly that mechanic, the freeze, so we don't have to deal with that. And then we end up getting a nice big Wild Queen. The green will excess feed into that, and we'll pretty much be good to go. Also, turnip, we could just kind of throw for a poke, and that gives us a little bit of mana. Unfortunately, we do miss it. But if nothing else, it gives us a better extra turn chance when we go cast this. We also have Hunter's Mark because we're currently running Thief with this. So we do have the Hunter's Mark chance as well as that instant kill chance if we end up landing it at all. So right here, we're actually going to convert out purple once again. We converted out the first time. We're going to convert it out the second time. Unfortunately, I do not believe we have a proper follow-up. So I will just throw down a little bit of turnip there and hopefully get what we need. Doesn't look like it's going to be enough mana here. We'll probably just throw a little bit of green, throw it into Apothecary, and then pretty much just win from that. It looks like we'll have a nice blue. Actually, we end up getting enough mana that we don't even need to throw it down. We can then throw that down for the poke, and then one more will kill it out if we can just find a nice Apothecary angle. I do not believe we have, though. Let's see. Yellow's okay. No, we're just going to go for red then, and then just kill it with Kurandara. And that will then be match. Oh, unless he gets a summon, never mind. Hey, that thing has yellow to skull convert as well, except it's not Doom Skulls. Do we have Apothecary here? Yes, but it's on yellow. However, how do we keep getting purple? We just getting like infinite purple alignment today. Okay. Is this worth doing in any way, shape, or form? I'm going to cascade this down. However, it's cascading into another yellow area, so it's fine. And we do land that extra turn alignment. Perfect. So we'll throw that down. That'll kill out his first slot. It'll follow up, and it's super dead. And obviously, the extra attack that we get onto the first slot is obviously very beneficial, given that we have even more skull spam to go along with it. But anyways, that's Kurandara. It's slightly above average. It's basically an Obsidious, just used for its curse utility for the most part. Overall, I actually prefer Mirage Queen. I would consider Mirage Queen a better troop than this Mythic. And Mirage Queen is obtained very easily. You just go and throw some Chaos Shards to Sunken Fleet. After a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 if you're unlucky, you would end up getting it there. And yeah, it seems about as effective as this Mythic in many situations. Plus has the 50% mana start to elemental. So overall, not anything too enticing. It might still get its usage here and there, obviously. Its main purpose being if you're using a skull spam team where you specifically need every single enemy to not be stats affected, or to not be immune to any stats effects could work. So obviously, if you're doing like a triple damage burning team, or you need them to have a specific stats effect for whatever reason, or stun so they can't get any traits like we did for that one battle with the web spinner and weaver, really it just depends on your battle. It's definitely not something you would throw down against every single battle. You would only bring it out if you specifically need the curse, and probably curse stun in most situations, in order to have that combo. But unless you 100% specifically need the curse mechanic, it is probably not worth bringing out, as it's rather average, has a pretty high mana cost for what it does, and overall, still fun trip to mess around with. but definitely not a 100% must-have, just a utility that you would eventually want to have. Generally, troops like this is more like your 20th or 30th mythic that you tend to get. Definitely not a super high priority, so probably worth skipping for a while if you didn't end up getting it yet. However, if you do have it, it does probably work best with Obsidius, I found. That's done, and you can even has a color overlap for various guild ward, I believe just purple and red, but that stun curse is probably its best combo that it has. But anyways, guys, that'll wrap it up for this video, and technically this campaign, since we covered it yesterday, and this is probably the last video that we're doing, technically covering the first ever campaign of Gems of War. And obviously, we'll have another one in 2 weeks. There's a 1 week downtime between, which will have Tower of Doom, and then the following week, we will have the second season. Hopefully, it'll be a little bit better than this season. The free rewards will also be quite a bit better, supposedly, so we'll have to see exactly what they end up doing with that. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave any questions below, and I will catch all of you guys later. Goodbye, everyone.